Welcome to Follow That Food, the show that takes you around the world to find the beginning, middle, and end of the world's great food stories. On this edition, it's portside to courtside as we follow that pesto. First stop, Italy, where the world's finest basil is sown and grown. Then a bitter debate between local Ligurians before a quest for the very best in Villa d'Este. Next, onto the Lone Star State for a tangy pesto twist. Then it's off to Hawaii, where the freshest nuts in the nation give pesto a whole new use. And finally, a center court pesto creation. So put the pasta on the boil and grab the oil as we follow that pesto. Hello and welcome to the Villa d'Este in Italy, on the shores of Lake Como, and one of the most beautiful gardens in the world. And in fact, any Italian garden like this one holds fresh basil. But believe it or not, the basil in this garden isn't good enough for its chefs. We have to go to one place for that: Liguria, on the northwest coast of Italy. It is on this soil that the most aromatic and flavorful basil in the world is grown, and has been for thousands of years. In fact, the basil was so good, sailors from this region's port city of Genoa took it on their voyages, which could last months, even years at a time. In order to preserve their prized produce, they put it in olive oil, and a sumptuous seaworthy sauce was born: pesto. Steve, is there a classic pesto? Everybody seems to have a little twist on it.
There is. Classic pesto is a Genovese-style pesto. It must be fresh basil made from small leaves grown in the Ligurian region, where the breezes of the Ligurian Sea and the Mediterranean Sea blow through and really refresh and give a nice aroma to the basil. And I'll also tell you that the basil must be picked while the plant is flowering. But the pesto itself is simply basil, the best Ligurian olive oil, fresh garlic, of course, Parmesan cheese, or Pecorino Romano, and a few pine nuts here and there, depending on who you speak with.
It's hard to get two Italians to agree to anything, but all Italians understand that the best pesto comes from Liguria. The beautiful Mediterranean breezes, the constant warm climate, and the great soil produce basil that perfects the product. And if you want to taste the perfect pesto, you gotta have a man from Liguria. So Matteo Mistura is going to show us, you say, is the classic pesto recipe, correct?
Sì. We have basilico, basil, a little bit of
parsley,
pinoli,
pine nuts,
aglio, garlic,
and
reggiano. Molto importante, the good quality of extra virgin olive oil.
From?
Liguria.
Of course.
Certo.
The reason Ligurians insist that the best pesto be made with mortar and pestle is that crushing the leaves brings out the fullest flavors and aromas from the basil. But the only way to know for sure is to taste the difference. Wow, that olive oil is important. That olive oil is giving it a really strong, lovely, grassy flavor. This is unbelievable. What an experience, huh? A little Italian life in a bowl. Mastura, grazie. But our adventure in Italy has only begun because, as you can tell, there's a lot of different interpretations about what to put in your pesto. So let's look around. Starting here, in the town that invented it, Genoa. But even Genovesian gentlemen that have been making it for generations disagree as to what constitutes the classic pesto sauce.
Pigneux levemo, mettiamo lì, poi quando niente dentro le pastoche mettiamo i pigneux, mettiamo il formaggio.
Le spiego, tanto non vanno. Allora, per fare il vero pesto genovese, basilico, possibilmente ligure, parmigiano reggiano o grana padano, e un pizzico di pecorino sardo o romano.
No, romano niente.
No,
romano, no perché.
And so it seems that even in Genoa, and even between family and friends, the perfect pesto comes down to personal preference. But in this part of the world, even slight changes in the origin of the ingredients or in the order that they're combined are enough to have brothers brawling. They take their pesto seriously up in Genoa.
They certainly do. Do you know that there's a brotherhood of pesto? It's the Confraternito del Pesto. It was created to protect the authenticity of pesto You have to use a mortar and pestle. You can't use a food processor. You can't even hand chop it with a mezzaluna as they do in Tuscany.
So we'll have to take our fine green friend and appeal to a higher authority. And there is no higher culinary court in the land of Italy than the dining terrace at Villa d'Este on Lake Como. Originally built in the 16th century for a cardinal, the Villa d'Este became a hotel in 1873. Today, its sumptuous gardens offer a glimpse into its royal past, but its kitchens are where we're searching for the timeless Italian staple. No self-respecting chef in northern Italy would ever find themselves without fresh basil. Now, even though you sit, Luciano, on the shores of Lake Como, you use Ligurian basil
Yes,
for your pesto.
use Ligurian because it's the best.
And you mix it with what?
Yes, I mix basil, garlic, pine nuts, rock salt, and two kinds of cheeses, Parmesan cheese and pecorino.
So the secret to Luciano's pesto is the delicate combination of all things Ligurian. And like most top chefs, he has some on standby so as not to keep the pasta waiting. A little olive oil in a pan prepares the linguine to hold the delicate Genovesian pesto. A sprinkle of Parmesan cheese and a dash of black pepper, and this simple Italian classic is complete. Very
Do
good.
you like it?
You know, it's not too salty.
No.
I can taste the cheese,
Yeah.
and you can actually taste the great pasta. It's not just the view in the hotel, I promise you. Even the food lives up to the surroundings. Thank you so much. Never has a meal matched its surroundings more. Simply perfect. Next, we'll peruse the prized pesto at Pex in Milan before we launch our leaves to new levels in the new world. It's a 5-star date in the Lone Star State. Next, as we follow that pesto. Welcome back to Follow That Food. Before we follow our tasty paste to the 50 states, we'll introduce you to the packaging pros who know just how to handle a primo pesto. As the capital of Liguria, Genoa is also famous for one other thing: seafaring folk, one of the great ports of the world, and home to none other than Christopher Columbus, who took pots of basil with him to the New World. Now, it turns out that Columbus wasn't the only Italian who couldn't travel without the stuff. Franco Malerba, the first Italian astronaut, is rumored to have smuggled some aboard the space shuttle. The meal? Out of this world. But before our Ligurian leaves can leave Italy, they need to be processed, preserved, and packed. And the place that does it best is Pex. If you only had 24 hours to experience as much of Italian food as you possibly could, you would come here to Pex in Milan, because they do the three things that Italians are traditionally famous for: great design, magnificent service, and the food. This market is a culinary jewel in the Italian retail world because it deals in only the best of the best. Pex's vast selection of artisanal products is the closest you can come to food heaven in this life. And its two gourmet guardian angels are the great-grandsons of the founder. Mario, Angelo, Stopani.
Sì.
Your pesto, they send it around the world. I mean, people can make pesto in their own homes in New York, but they buy your pesto. Why?
Perché probabilmente non c'hanno il basilico come il mio, non c'hanno il formaggio come il mio e probabilmente non c'avete l'abilità che ho io.
Yeah, no, it's true. Absolutely. Fresh, of course, is best, but fresh doesn't fly so well. So we're following this little jar near and far. At first stop, Texas, where old world tradition meets new world sedition. What the Lone Star State's renegade restaurateurs do with their recipes is their own business. So pesto prima donnas step aside, because Italian influences are everywhere, even here in Dallas, Texas, in the forecourt of the mansion on Turtle Creek, which was once a great private home and is now not only a great hotel, it was voted #1 by Travel and Leisure as the best service hotel in the world. What do you expect with great service? The unexpected. And the mansion's Dean Fearing is just that. He's a cowboy boot collecting, guitar picking, pesto loving lad from the land of the lariat. But you guessed it, Dean does his dishes Dallas style. So what is the difference, Dean, between a Italian pesto and a Texas style pesto?
Oh, Gordon, Texas pesto is definitely cilantro.
Really?
And this complements Texas style foods, a little more spice. Hey, talk about spice. We have a little spice of life jalapeno.
You're going to put that in the pesto?
Absolutely.
And these are not pinoli nuts. These aren't pine nuts.
No. These are pecans, which we've smoked. All those flavors are going to be blended up and served with our little pork tenderloin.
You're going to give a Genovese pesto maker a heart attack. This is breaking all their rules.
This is breaking all the rules.
Well, you start, and I'll unwrap our now useless Italian pesto.
Well, it'll be good. It'll be good.
I want you to taste it. Have you ever tasted this stuff? Look at it. You can see the grass. It looks like grass cuttings. It's so thick.
You know, and let's try a little bit. Now, we have to use tortilla chips in Texas.
I noticed. Okay.
Not bad.
Okay, so that's what you're starting with. Dean begins by searing the tenderloin on all sides before putting it in the oven to finish. While it cooks, he makes his Texas-style pesto. Along with cilantro, jalapenos, and pecans, he adds garlic, lime juice, and canola oil, pureeing it all in a blender until the texture is consistently smooth. I must admit, it's a lot easier than grinding a mortar and pestle in the hot sun. I mean, you know, I don't want to be rude, but can I try?
I think you're going to like that, Gordon.
That's a kick in the head.
I think you're going to like that. Okay, let's put this all together.
That's good. On a bed of Spanish rice, Dean places his sliced pork tenderloin, a healthy dose of his Texas pesto, a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese, and this southwestern masterpiece is complete. It's not there to be looked at.
Let me get a fork.
Okay, I got to try this.
I tell you, you're gonna be Texasized.
Texasized. That's delicious. You don't really get the balance till you have that rice.
I know. Tomato with pesto. Salsas are tomato, jalapeno, garlic. All of that is what's this.
This is
in
a winner.
A more modern situation.
Because you can't. I mean, if you had our little friend from Italy, he would be a little overwhelmed by the strength of the rice and all the other flavors.
Oh, I know.
In there.
I know.
But he can stand up Texas style and take it on the chin and hand it back. Dean, thank you. Before we leave for Hawaii, where we're going to pursue our pesto path, would you mind giving us just a touch of a Texas send-off?
Absolutely.
It'll be tough to match the flavorful surprises of Dallas's Dean Fearing's creative soul, but we'll try. Thanks, Dean.
See y'all later. You hear?
When we return, surfs up on the big island of Hawaii, where our pesto takes an unexpected turn on the grill. Then back east, it's a New York match made in tennis heaven as we follow that pesto. Welcome back to Follow That Food. We've taken a two-continent tasting tour with our beautifully bottled basil. But now it's time to make a break for the beach with a nutty new approach to a traditional temptation. Ever since pesto was first created, people have been playing with the flavors. For example, substituting the pine nuts for, say, macadamia nuts. And where do you go to get the best macadamias for the most interesting pesto permutations? Hawaii. Hawaii is a treasure trove of unique Pacific Rim flavors, macadamia being its most famous. So when it comes to finding an exotic taste for our pine nut-filled paste, there was only one choice, our 50th state, and Chef Peter Merriman's outdoor experimental kitchen. Peter so loves his pesto possibilities, he puts his plates amongst his inspiration, his beloved basil. What are you going to do here in this beautiful farm of yours here?
Well, we're going to make a very simple, straightforward macadamia nut pesto. We're going to mix it with some mayonnaise to make like an aioli, spread it over opaka paka and grill it.
What's opaka paka?
It's a wonderful fish. We start by taking 3 cloves of garlic and putting them in a bowl. You can do this in a blender, however you like, and then let's go ahead.
Oh, this is easy.
Okay.
See, the Italians will be there all day with their pestle and mortar.
Are you licensed operator?
No, I'm not. I'll give it to a professional.
Come on, you do it. Gradually what I'll do is I'll start adding in my basil, my fresh basil leaf. I'm going to put a little bit of flat leaf parsley in there. And here's my macadamia nut pieces. Now you got to get that nice and pasty. There we go.
I hit myself in the eye with a macadamia nut. We need safety goggles for this. Holy moly! This macadamia is flying everywhere. Listen, I'll give this to you.
Okay.
You've done this
I'm
before.
happy to do that.
So I'm glad it's not just me. Keep going. Peter and I proved that Italians are very clever to stick to their pestle and mortar. I mean, there are some things technology just isn't suited for. So that's it? We're all ready?
That's it right there. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to mix some of this
Mayonnaise in your pesto.
mayonnaise and pesto. And here I have some fresh opaka paka. And I'll just spread that right on the fish.
This looks like a great summer barbecue thing.
That's it. The oils will baste the fish and then sort of disappear. So I'm going to go ahead and put my fish basil side down. It won't stick to my grill that way.
Do you baste the other side?
Yeah, I'm going to baste the other side. You don't have to.
Pass me the napkin. Oh. Wow.
I'm going to have a bite of that.
Well, that was just so quick. The moment of pesto truth. That's really nice. That's different. Is it the mayonnaise?
Well, the mayonnaise gives it a base.
It's great.
There you go.
It's actually, to be honest, it's far more sophisticated than it looks.
It's sophisticated flavors, but it's easy technique. It's not hard to do at all.
Just like you.
Yeah.
Sophisticated but easygoing. Peter Merriman.
All right.
Now I know why they call you one of the fathers of regional cuisine.
Thank you.
It's bold. Yet another twist on our Mediterranean mealtime mainstay. But we saved our best basil-based banquet till last. Next, it's a love match for our Primo Peck Prize, shrimp and risotto. It's the US Open next on Follow That Pesto. Welcome back to Follow That Food. From Mediterranean breeze to Pacific seas, we've searched high and low for a peerless pesto's perfect culinary companion. And finally, our globe-trotting gourmet pursuit of the perfect pesto is about to end at no less a place than right here at the US Open and the Arthur Ashe Stadium. You see, the Italians not only invented pesto, they invented tennis. In the 11th century, Italian monks would travel around from monastery to monastery and amuse themselves in their off hours by hitting a ball against a wall. That became the game of tennis that we celebrate here in Flushing Meadows at the US Open every year. And finally, great tennis and great pesto come together. Food is as much a part of the US Open experience as sunburn and scalpers. For a real open flavor, most spectators head to the food court. But when you're up for a little indulgence, the stadium offers a variety of fine restaurants to choose from. And if you're going to come to the US Open and eat, then you've got to eat with Ed Brown's talent behind you, who runs the premier restaurant here in the tennis center called Aces. And you're going to ace our pesto for us as a fabulous finale. What are you making for us today, Ed?
We've got a arugula pesto, which is a little bit different.
So you just throw this into the mortar halfway through making the pesto.
That's right.
Could you take the pre-made pesto from Peck and add it like this?
I wouldn't touch their pesto.
Really? You think it's that good?
Well, as pesto goes, regular pesto, that's, one of the best.
So like all my chefs, Ed wants to use his take on the pesto path. Ed starts his arugula pesto shrimp risotto by adding lots of diced garlic, onions, and plenty of olive oil to the pan. Along with the shrimp, he combines lemon juice, white wine, and a pinch of parsley, cooking it thoroughly before setting it aside to start his risotto.
I'm gonna pour a little stock into our pan here. I'm gonna add my blanched risotto to that.
Now, what is it about Italian pesto, Ligurian basil? Do you consider it the best? Why can't they do it in California the same way?
Well, they try. They try like heck, you know. A lot of people have been over to Liguria and tasted the basil and try to figure it out. But like a lot of things in other countries, it's got to do with the soil and the air and the water. And
You just can't fake it.
you can't fake it. So we have the rice is starting to get nice and creamy and coming together here. We're gonna just add our pesto at the last moment. We're gonna put a good amount in there.
All right.
See what's gonna happen.
Okay.
That's all right, huh?
Oh my God.
So that pesto risotto goes right on the plate. Then we just spoon a few of our shrimp on top. Put a little arugula on there, which garnishes it, drives home the theme of arugula, and that's it.
Our final plate of pesto paradise. It's game, set, and matchless. That really softens. That really softens the pesto.
It's tasty, huh?
Yeah, it's really tasty. When we started the show, Ed, I had no idea where it was going to lead me, but I'm thrilled and delighted that you have honored us by inviting us here to the US Open,
Pleasure to be
where
here.
you've shown us what the real talented guys do.
Thanks, Gordon.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Oh, and one more thing. The Italians asked me to remind you that the word is pinoli nut, not pignoli. You see, in Italian they say pignoli is like the word pignolo, which means very mean person, something the Italians are definitely not. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next time on Follow That Food.